Part 53. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 521. Kushida liked this answer. If she tried, if you can prepare. Oreki-san didn't seem to understand. I'm ashamed to say such words, Kushida said. If you can spend some money to get safe family planning supplies, then some things don't mean you can't do them. Oh. I hope he uses his points to purchase family planning supplies properly. This is a good proposal. The prohibition on the purchase and sale of family planning products was the last Student Council President Horikita Manabu's love for the junior students. The method he used was not to use the authority of the Student Council President, but to use 1 million points. Based on this rule, since money can be used to prevent purchases and sales, then naturally this restriction can also be removed using money. But we can't do this, Oreki-san said. And definitely don't open channels randomly. First of all, students' bounden duty is to study, and I don't want to see too many students affecting their studies because of love. Take my class as an example. Everyone has the confidence and goal to graduate from Class A. What if falling in love, or even being addicted to it, affects their studies or even causes them to waver during the special exam? This is especially true for love between classes, Oreki-san said. Oh. Is it? Kushida-san's expression seemed to suddenly become cold. But Kushida heard that the students in class A are deliberately getting close to the shopping mall staff these days. Her friend heard that these class A students seemed to be using points in the hope of getting TT from the staff. So, haven't you students in class A become extremely thirsty? Oreki-san, you are going against the will of your classmate. Besides, my girlfriend is Sakayanagi Yuzu, Oreki-san said. As long as I spend money to apply for this rule, the chairman will definitely know about it. Orisu is the daughter of the chairman, Oreki said. For it. Is there still such a thing? Kushida was a little surprised. But if you think about it from this level, it is indeed a lot of pressure. Because the former student council president Horikita Senpai applied to the shopping street to ban the purchase and sale of family planning supplies. The notice must have reached the chairman. If Oreki wants to erase this authority of Horikita Senpai, the chairman will definitely know. And since Sakayanagi Yuzu is the daughter of the chairman, and Oreki is Italio's date, therefore, the chairman may wonder, what do you want to do with this kind of thing? What do you want to do to Arisu? Are you crazy? Her body is so weak, how could she grow up now? Just imagining it alone makes me feel terrible. I can somewhat understand Oreki's mood. But Oreki Houtarou, you and Sakayanagi have become adults together. You guys are eating the forbidden fruit. And from this perspective, so, should she make some preparations? Not just for herself, but, if Italio is really pregnant, even the student council president may be expelled. Even if she didn't drop out of school, it was hard to say whether Banlia would be able to get pregnant again with her body. So as long as Sakayanagi Yuzu becomes pregnant, she will definitely drop out of school. And Itaiji dropped out of school, and it was uncertain whether Oreki Houtarou would continue to stay in school. And Oreki is not in school, she will have to face Azawa Ichika, not only Azawa Ichika, but also the new students next year. And Yagami Takiya's stinky junior classmate also wanted to touch her. I can't guarantee it, and I'm talking nonsense to no one. So are there many imaginary enemies? Help. I will also think of a solution regarding the TT problem, Kushida-san said. I will also find a way to get the morning after pill. Oh. You come up with a solution. So, what do you want to do? Also, don't take medicine randomly. Probably because he felt that Kushida-san was strange and even a little dangerous, so even though today was the third time of the agreed 3 times a week, Oreki-san did not stay long. After a while, she left her dormitory. Just as he walked to the stairs to go down, he received a message. "Can I go to your dormitory to play?" Oreki. He confirmed the information again. "Can I go to your dormitory to play?" by Kuruzawa Megami. Wait a little longer. Oreki-san thought about it and replied to the other party. "I'm still outside." Oreki promised Kushida-san to meet Azawa-san again. From the punishment in the mission, we can find that Amasawa's schoolmate is Kushida's natural enemy. You can really press Kushida on the ground and rub him. Coupled with the identity of the other parties by Fang Sheng. So Oreki considered treating it a little more cautiously. So the people around you try to comfort you first. Then. Do you want to use teleportation? Yes. Oreki-san is used to convenience. After returning to the dormitory, Oreki walked to the entrance hall, opened the door, and then kept it ajar. About 10 minutes later, he received an incoming message from Kuruzawa on his mobile phone. As expected. Boom, boom, boom. There were 2 long and 1 short knocks on the door. Then, a cute girl with a golden ponytail slipped in. Then he turned around and closed the door and locked it. It also has anti-theft chain protection. Is it necessary to be so exaggerated? Oreki-san said. He took out the drink from the refrigerator and handed it to Kuruzawa. Because this is a boys' dormitory after all. If I come over, it will be very conspicuous, Kuruzawa said. I came here hiding in the stairs just now, but when I found that the elevator was about to stop on this floor, I was almost scared out of my mind. Then you are working very hard. Oreki-san also went to Kushida-san's dormitory, hid himself, and waited for an opportunity before knocking on the door. Thank you. Kuruzawa took the coke that Oreki handed him. I read the message. Come and play in my room, Oreki-san said. But my room is also very ordinary, nothing special. If you want to do something sexy, it probably won't work. I'm not prepared, and you don't want to drop out of school. Oreki felt that there were some things he had to say honestly. I didn't mean that, Hui said quickly. That kind of thing is not sold in the school, and there is no medicine. I still know this, don't worry. Let him rest assured. You all know why. Rather, have you all gone to the store to ask? After feeling that there were some things he couldn't ask, Oreki-san invited Kuruzawa into the room. If it was for fun, it would be easy for the atmosphere to get awkward when boys and girls were alone. This was something he had discovered before when the other party pestered him to study. He almost reached into his clothes. That's why Oreki-san reminded her just now. And his cat Hade happened to be in the dormitory. So now is the perfect time to sacrifice the cat. Speaking of pets, Oreki-san spent some time to bring in his own cat. Although on the one hand, it is to relieve Sakayanagi-san's boredom. But we also entrusted Kuruzawa's domestic hamster Houtarou to be brought in. I think we can bring Houtarou here next time. If there is only one creature, it will feel lonely, Kuruzawa said while stroking the cat's head. Living things feel lonely if they are alone. So will you? Oreki-san tried to understand her mood. While thinking about this, Oreki noticed that Kuruzawa was looking at him. He could also notice that her cheeks were slightly pink and her lips were quite moist. Even his eyes became moist. It always felt like she wanted him to kiss her. Thanks to Atayanagi-san, Oreki gained some experience in the body language of girls. Benefit. Houtarou. Oreki-san knew that something needed to be done at this time. Ding dong, but at this time the doorbell sounded. Oreki. Oreki-san ignored the doorbell. Megami seemed not to want to pay attention to the sound of the doorbell. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 522. Only. Ding dong X3. 2 long doorbells and 1 short doorbell rang. Oreki. Let me go take a look, Oreki-san said. Because if he was not mistaken, the rhythm of this doorbell seemed to speak. using the secret code he asked Kurosawa to use. P.S. I still owe 26 updates. Also looking for free blades at the beginning of the month. Ying ying ying. Chapter 234 It's not good, Tianzi's junior schoolmate is a Yandere. Next. If it is a relationship that is not convenient for others to know, then each other will conceal or disguise it. As for Oreki-san, the tacit understanding between him and Kurosawa is that if she comes to his place, she will send a text message first, and then he will leave the door ajar while she knocks 2 long and 1 short knocks. Voice. For example, Kushida-san knocked on the door with 2 short and 1 long knocks. So it's like a secret code. But now the doorbell seemed to be repeating the secret code between him and Kurosawa. Let me go take a look, Oreki-san said to Kurosawa. There's nothing we can do about it. Kurosawa had no choice but to walk to the small kitchen. Oreki-san rarely cooks in school, so the kitchen is kept very clean. When Oreki-san came to the entrance, he first hid Kurosawa's shoes. Then he walked to the door. After all, he is classmate Sakayanaga's boyfriend, and if she discovers that there are other girls in her room, she won't be able to explain it clearly. So, Oreki suddenly realized that he had been doing such dangerous things. Because if Banlieu discovers it, then, his virginity will immediately become dangerous and will be robbed, and Banlieu will soon drop out of school. And this would be very harmful to her body, or she simply couldn't and didn't dare to imagine it. Oreki-san, who was reflecting on himself while thinking about the seriousness of the consequences, did not open the door immediately. Dong dong, at this time, there was a knock on the door. It's the same rhythm as when you ring the doorbell, 2 long and 1 short. Sure enough, if it was a coincidence, now, the people outside the door did know his and Kurosawa's secret code. Click. Oreki-san opened the door lock, but it was not fully opened. Hotlink protection is retained. This way you can see outside and prevent the other party from coming in immediately. If it was Sakayanagi-san or Kamuro-san, there was still the possibility of tricking the other person into leaving first. Thinking like this, the door opened and what I saw was purple hair. Is it really Kamuro-kun? And if you want to fool Kamuro-san, all you need to do is, Oreki-san noticed. The person outside the door is the cutest girl in the first grade with purple-red twin tails, Amasawa Ichika. That is, Amasawa-senpai. It's not Kamuro-san who's too nice, but Amasawa. Oreki-san. Oreki was just going to meet Amasawa's junior classmate for a while. And now, the other party took the initiative and came to his door. In other words, the other person wants to meet him for a while. You are Amasawa-senpai, Oreki-san said. Ah, it's great that Oreki-senpai still remembers me, Amasawa Ichika said. As she said this, she looked a little surprised. Paired with the cute face, it makes people feel a little excited. But Oreki-san has seen this kind of look so often that it can even be said to be commonplace. Because this is how Kushida-san behaves? In other words, Amasawa-san imitated Kushida. So, Oreki thought quickly. Ichika Amasawa has determined that he is from Shirobo and a student of Shirobo just like Yagami Takia. The same mission was probably given to Ayakoji Kiyotaka who dropped out of school. The student union has great authority, so it can fight against Principal Yu Cheng. So as the boyfriend of the student council president, Oreki Houtarou, maybe he can be regarded as the person Shirobo-san wants to get in touch with. And if he can be controlled, the student union may switch sides. And is this possible? You must know that he is dating the student council president Yuzusaka Yanagi. But this kind of thing can be done. Because Oreki-san realized that he was having an affair. Then you will be caught in pigtails. So, sure enough, he went to find Kushida, and was he discovered by Ichika Amasawa at that time? And his relationship with Kushida can be regarded as cheating. so it can be used to differentiate his relationship with Banliu. But it does not matter. He was in Kushida's room for only 10 minutes. And nothing can be done for 10 minutes. Therefore, what this schoolgirl caught this time was empty. And Oreki was thinking. Oreki-senpai, are you sure you won't let me in? But Amasawa Ichika stayed at the door of the room, holding the edge of the door with the fingers of his left hand. Era, put away Kuruzawa-senpai's shoes. Let me think about it. You don't want people to discover your relationship with Kuruzawa-senpai. In other words, Sakayanaga-senpai doesn't know about this. This is really brave, Amasawa said immediately. Not only did he cheat on me with Kushida-senpai, but now he also maintains a private relationship with Kuruzawa-senpai. President Sakayanagi may look very upright, but he is actually wearing a cuckold hat. So, did this confirm that he and Kushida were cheating on each other, so he didn't want to follow her at all, but followed Megami here? And why are you talking so loudly? Click. Then Oreki-san opened the anti-theft lock and let her in. Yeah, and the mood of Tianzi's junior classmate seemed to be getting better. This is the boys' room. It's obviously the same dormitory layout, but it gives people a completely different feeling. But they say that Oreki-senpai cherishes beauty, but it seems that is not the case now. It's not good for Kuruzawa-senpai to hide in the small kitchen all the time, Amasawa-senpai said. Oreki. May, come out. Although Kuruzawa was hiding just now, his ears were fine. I heard the conversation between Oreki and Amasawa Ichika. And she also heard a wonderful point. So Houtarou not only cheated on her, but also cheated on Kushida-san? That Kushida-san. But there seems to be a trace, because Sato reported that Kushida and Horikita stayed in Houtarou's room for more than 10 minutes. Although later I felt that it might just be discussing the exam. But now, Kushida-san is actually a dangerous person. Then do Oreki and Horikita have the same relationship as Kushida? But now is not the time to ask these questions, but, this schoolgirl gives people a very unpleasant feeling. Why are you following me? Kuruzawa said with a deliberately dissatisfied look. Because Kuruzawa-senpai gives me a special feeling, Amasawa-senpai said. A kind of masked look. Huh? Wearing a mask, even though her heart was shaken for a moment, Hui was steady. Isn't everyone wearing a mask? Because you have to speak according to the atmosphere. If you don't cater to the atmosphere, you will be disliked. No one wants to be disliked, Hui said, pretending to be dissatisfied. And the tone of voice makes her look very hot, girl. That's indeed what you said, Junior Tian said. I also know that my twin tails are cute, so I styled them like this because I like to get other people's eyes that think I'm cute. But, Kuruzawa-senpai, you are different. Everything you are doing now is just a disguise, Amasawa Ichika said. What disguise? Hui continued to use a tough expression. But Oreki-san already understood that hiding it failed. This schoolgirl is great. At least Kushida-san didn't see through Megami's disguise, but you saw it right away. The clothes are not disheveled, but you have been here for 20 minutes, and the result is a little unexpectedly innocent, Amazawa junior student continued to say surprisingly. Hui was stunned for a moment, and then reacted quickly. What are you talking about? I just came to the boys' room, why would you think of that? Isn't it? Amasawa Ichika said. I can see that you want to have something happen with Oreki-senpai. I'm not that kind of perverted girl, Hui quickly spoke up for herself. But the schoolgirl smiled like a little devil. So, senpai, you admit that you have a relationship with Oreki-senpai, and it's even going to go that far. Well, Kuruzawa was completely defeated. Incredible. Oreki-san discovered that the Kushida-san he knew would definitely be pushed to the ground and rubbed by this schoolgirl. Because the other party is like a little devil. Okay, Oreki-san stopped Megami. Then he looked at the schoolgirl. Can you put your hands on your head and show the horns? Oreki asked. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 523. The schoolgirl seemed to be slightly stunned. But then his cute smile returned. Since it is the request of the seniors, there is nothing we can do. Amasawa Ichika then raised his hands on his head. It's really similar. Still the succubus type. It seems that I am already rated as a little devil in the minds of seniors, and Amasawa Ichika seemed to be able to read minds. I think senior already knows, but Amasawa Ichika directly entered the topic at this time. Principal Tsukijo issued a special mission last month. Yu Cheng invited some first-year students last month and then issued 20 million private points or 16 million cash rewards. The requirement is to drop out of school Ayanokaji Kiyotaka. And at that time, apart from Nana's senpai and Hosen, it is impossible to miss Ichika Amasawa. Rather, she knew it, and then reminded Baoquin that when he bought a knife, he had to buy it with some other kitchen utensils, which could conceal his intention to use violence. Special mission, Kuruzawa was puzzled. It seems that Kuruzawa-senpai is well protected by Oreki-senpai, Amasawa Ichika said. A lot of information is unknown. Kuruzawa. So what's going on with this schoolgirl? Was it here to break up the relationship between her and Houtarou? In this way. Not only Kushida-san feels that way, but also her friend. This Amasawa-senpai is one of the most unique and difficult ones she has ever seen. I need Ayanokaji, Oreki-san said. So I'm not going to drop him out of school. So I will interfere, Oreki said. That's it. Ichika Amasawa looked at Oreki-san's pupils, probably stopped for several seconds, and then said. Then we are the same. I don't want Ayanokaji-senpai to leave here like this, Amasawa-senpai said. So that's great. We are not enemies. Then there's no need to keep this recording. With that said, she took out her phone from her pocket. The screen of the mobile phone is on, showing a tape recorder pattern, which indicates that it is recording. But she ignored Oreki and Kuruzawa and deleted the recording file directly. And that's all I want to tell you, she said. So, since we are not enemies, can you let me have a cup of coffee? Excuse me, Kuruzawa-senpai. Amasawa Ichika looked very polite. But Hui no longer believes her. She looked towards Oreki-san. Because why should she make coffee for this bad schoolgirl? I can also go prepare the coffee, but then you'll have to come and talk to her. For it. Hui discovered that he and Tians were not on the same level. And if she were to face Amasawa, it would be impossible. At least President Sakayanagi would have to come in person. Then Hui went to the kitchen honestly. Oreki-senpai, what do you think of Utsunomi Yariku and Haru Sakurako from first year class B? Amasawa-senpai continued. In the last special examination, their first year class C passed them directly. Of course, I don't care too much. It's just that I happened to see the two of them having dinner with Principal Yu Cheng. In other words, although Hokwon dropped out of school, Tsukijo's 20 million plan to drop out of Ayanokaji was not over. Instead, they continue to cast a net to deceive new students. And this is probably why Utsunomiya and Haru Sakurako directly signed the arrears of 30 million points owed to him. 30 million seems like a sky-high price. But there is still a high probability that their class evaluation points can be repaid. At the same time, if we can get the 20 million from Ayanokaji who dropped out of school, we can fill this big gap. Certainly. It is also possible that they want to take over this task and get 20 million to go solo. So you don't necessarily need to take the class to climb up, but you need to be prepared to fly solo from the beginning. And this time, he took class C to fly to class B, maybe just to impress the students in the class, and then cooperate with him to act, and then he became their tool. It seems that the junior students all have their own little plans. So, Miss Tians, do you also calculate this way? Can you take out someone else's cell phone from your pocket? Senior Oreki said. I got your phone number from Kushida right from the beginning, and when I called your phone number, there was no response at all from you. Tians. It seems that Oreki-senpai should not be underestimated. Probably because he found out that he had been exposed, Amasawa Ichika took out the white case mobile phone from his left jacket pocket. Then he took out 2 mobile phones from his pants pockets. There were 4 mobile phones in total, except for the one she took out to self-destruct, but 3 of them showed recording status. A total of 4 phones lined up in a row. If Ryuan were to see the scene, he might think it was familiar. Because when Oreki went to the rooftop to fight Ryuan, he said it didn't matter if he fought, but he brought 4 recorders with him. In this way, Oreki also discovered what kind of person Amasawa-senpai was, probably the same type of person as himself. Then part of what she said was true. Chapter 235 A new exam begins. Someone is very worried. The time came on May 12th. Oreki-san came to the classroom. Today is Monday. Oreki sat in his seat, and as usual, the silver-haired little princess sat next to him. Today's Sakayanagi-san is also quite cute, wearing white garters. I heard Amazawa Jr. say before that she knew she was cute with her twin tails, so she deliberately showed her cute side. The same is probably true for Sakayanagi-san. She knew her legs were quite cute. This was all Kushida's fault for randomly speculating on his interest, and then Sakayanagi probably found out about it. Of course, the situation between Banliu and him has thawed, and there is no longer a Cold War. But Oreki-san is also trying hard to keep the distance between them. Her body is not strong yet, so she has to exercise restraint. But in the past 2 days, Oreki always felt that Katsuragi-san seemed to be looking at him, but he was hesitant to speak, and he was hesitant to speak. But when he really paid attention to the past, Katsuragi-san was too embarrassed to mention it. What a strange sight. But Oreki-san also received an ultimatum from Sakayanagi-san. Kamuro-san came to his room yesterday, but not for anything else, but to give him an insurance policy. Previously, he entrusted Kamuro-san to obtain family planning supplies. And when most students couldn't get it, Kamuro got it. And now, when all students cannot obtain the family planning supplies that have been out of print and are prohibited from being purchased, Kamuro-san has obtained them again. But, however, since they are members of the student union, they can also purchase foreign goods through proper procedures, such as using points to make entrusted purchases. This is just like how Oreki originally wanted the school to bring his cat and Houtarou from Kuruzawa's home. However, Chairman Itayanaga should also be aware of the relationship between Kamuro-san and his daughter. So if Kamuro goes to obtain this kind of thing, then can't we guess that Arisu's thoughts are behind the scenes? It's just that Oreki-san hasn't been approached by Chairman Sakayanagi recently. Does it mean that Chairman Sakayanagi acquiesces to Kamuro-san's operation? This was impossible. After all, he knew very well how frail his daughter was. Therefore, from this perspective, Kamuro-san did not obtain it from outside the school. So how did she do it? Complicated feelings. While he was thinking about it, a man appeared at the front door. The other person was wearing a suit and tie. Unlike Oreki-san's blue tie, the other party's tie is black. They're all here, the other party said. Then the announcement of this month's special examination will begin. The special examination this time has a very long time limit, Teacher Mashima said. It lasts for 20 days. And the span of grades is longer than last month. It's a whole grade confrontation. Teacher Majima said, and as he said this, he wiped his forehead a little tiredly. Apparently, he probably went against Principal Tsukijo with other class teachers last night. And Oreki-san looked at the message sent an hour ago on his phone. This time for the special examination, all students will undergo a special assessment of the school's points once a year. The first grade will be separated separately by Yu Cheng. In other words, as a new first-year student, he will face an assessment with high personal point rewards similar to the preferential candidate examination. From this point of view, Mr. Yu Cheng still keeps his promise. Main mission: earn 100 million in 300 days. Task time limit, 186 days. Task requirement, in 300 days, extract 50 million from senior students and 50 million from freshmen. Task reward, soul out of body. Mission punishment, Kushida will be rubbed by Ichika Amasawa. Task progress, 99.999%, add 90%. Oreki-san was very satisfied and continued to listen to the homeroom teacher's description of the rules. The exam venue for this time's exam is still the same place you went to last year. Uninhabited island. But there are differences. Last year's uninhabited island survival, there should be many students who were unable to realize their potential and felt anxious. However, you can imagine that this year's exam will require all abilities. That is to say, there are more exam items this year, including academic ability, physical ability, mental ability, communication ability, etc. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 524. In other words, the difficulty has increased. Because it is a competition between the whole grade, there are some problems with the rules. For example, this time the exam is no longer purely class-based, but allows students in the same grade to form teams freely. Before the exam starts, the team size is 1-3 people, but after the exam starts, you can form a large group of up to 6 people. After forming a team, the results are ranked according to the whole grade group. Then teacher Mashima gave the rewards and punishments for the exam. On rewards. First place group. The class evaluation score is 300 points, the private points are 1 million points and the dropout protection title is add 1. Second place group. The class evaluation score is 200 points and the private points are 500,000 points. Third place group. The class evaluation score is 100 points and the private points are 250,000 points. Get the top 50% of the category, including first to third place. Personal points are 50,000 points. Get the top 70% of the category, including first to third place. 10,000 personal points. Note: 1. The class evaluation scores obtained by the top 3 groups will be moved from the grades of the bottom 3 groups. Note: 2. If the scores in the bottom 3 groups are not enough to be deducted, they will be reset to 0 and the school will fill in the insufficient points. Note: 3. The class evaluation scores obtained by the first 3 groups will be distributed equally, rounded, according to the number of classes regardless of the number of people in the group. Note: points deducted for the 3 groups after 4 will also be deducted equally according to the number of classes in the group. When Mr. Mashima explains the rules, he uses the screen to display, which is very intuitive. In terms of rewards, both class points and personal points are quite high. And if the first place group to the third place group are all occupied by students from their own class, and the third to last place is occupied by the angels from class B, then an incredible change will occur. But punishment also appeared. Except for the students in the last to last group, the class evaluation points of the first 3 groups will be paid. Students in the bottom 5 groups will all drop out. The maximum number of people in a group is 6, so up to 30 students may drop out. In other words, getting rewards from the top 3 groups looks good, but if you fall into the bottom 5 groups, even students in class A need to be careful. You can tell this just by looking at Katsuragi-san's expression. But don't worry too much, teacher Mashima continued. It's not that difficult to exempt the bottom 5 groups from dropping out. One group only needs to collect 6 million points. OXN. Most of the students in the class felt relieved. Although we are proud of being Class A, this time the exams will be conducted in separate teams, so it is difficult to guarantee whether they will be targeted by other classes or even grades. So if you are deceived and fall into the bottom 5 groups, a group only needs 6 million points. If divided equally, one person can have a maximum of 6 million and a minimum of 1.2 million private points. For Class A students who have nearly 300,000 points in their account in a month, there is not so much pressure. Then, there are some supplementary rules, which will be announced during the class meeting tomorrow. So for current students, it is how to form a team, how to ensure that they can score points, and how to not fall behind. As long as they are not deliberately framed, it is still safe for the students in Class A. At this time, when teacher Majima gave up the class meeting time to the students, most of the students looked at that fixed person. It's Sakayanagi Arasu. Banliu was unable to take last year's uninhabited island exam due to health issues. And this time, I will also take the exam this time, Sakayanagi said proactively. Because, since it is an exam with increased difficulty, what should be done if one of the team members withdraws from the exam due to force majeure? In this case, it doesn't matter. If you, Kamuro-san, and Oreki Houtarou form a team, one of them, Kamuro, will withdraw, Mashima-sensei said. Although the disqualified Kamuro must return to the ship, the remaining 2 people can still continue the exam. Then, if your team wins to the end and gets first place, Kamuro who gave up at the beginning will also be a member of the team. So of course it will be regarded as number 1. Does this mean that even if an individual falls off, as long as the group survives, it will be fine? No matter how many people are missing in the middle, the group will continue to operate without any inconvenience until it reaches the last person. In short, it means that the more people there are, the more members will be left. Then there are more opportunities. Then the team formation needs a lot of attention. Team formation before the start of the exam is allowed in groups of 1-3 people. But there are limitations. That's the ratio of men to women in the team. If it is a mixed situation, girls must account for more than 2/3. So groups of 2 men and 1 woman, or 1 man and 1 woman, were directly rejected. Then it becomes like this. A man. 2 men. 3 men. 1 girl. 2 women. 3 girls. 1 man and 2 women. 7 combinations in total. After the exam starts, you can add some other people to form a team, but when the number of people in the group reaches 4+, girls need to account for half of the group. Although I don't want to admit it, the school's rules treat girls as a restriction on the team, Sakayanagi said. But our class does have a winning plan. A sure win plan. This time the exam examines more comprehensive aspects, so there are also situations where students will do solos. Individual. In other words, it is the power of an individual soldier. And the strongest individual combat power of second-year Class A. As a result, everyone's eyes fell on the 2 monsters in the class. Oreki-san remained humble. And Juyunji also noticed how everyone looked at him. He is the only student who flew up from the lower class since the school was founded. At the same time, he is also a recognized monster. That's just a single person. Takahiraji said, if it was just a competition among the same grade, then I might not be very interested, but this is a grade-wide competition, so I would just do it. After all, there are not only mortals in this exam. Gao Yuanji was not gregarious at all when he was in Class D, and was even unwilling to work hard at times. The reason is actually not difficult to understand. He considers himself a genius, so isn't he bullying ordinary students by competing with them? But during the previous sports festival, he also said that if possible, he would also like to play against Horikita Manabu and Oreki Houtarou. They are not like others. Although Horikita Manabu has left, but now, Oreki Houtarou hasn't left yet? According to the current situation of Class A, it is very possible to take the top two in the battle between the three grades. So if he was needed, Houtarou Oreki was also needed. Therefore, the unexpected can be regarded as a battle. I will participate, Gao Yuanji said. So, I thought that Takahiraji-san might refuse, but he actually agreed so readily. I agree too, Oreki-san said. In this way, Class A's strategy tends to focus on the all-round students in its class. Other classes, or all students in the entire school, were informed of the same exam rules. In contrast, some students in Class A of the second grade considered that they might be targeted by other classes, and if they were framed, they would suffer losses from the bottom five. There are also other classes that share this concern. Among them, one class of students stands out in particular. That is Class A of the third grade. Nanyuan. Nagamo Senpai's expression probably turned into a cocked mouth, which indicated that he was unhappy. He was also in class listening to his class teacher, Mr. Kazuma, explaining the rules of the exam. The exam took place on an uninhabited island. The scope of the examination is a full-grade confrontation. It is still the top three groups that take away the class evaluation points from the bottom three groups. At the same time, the bottom five groups will be expelled. If you don't drop out, you'll have to pay a huge fine. Hey, isn't this scary? If his third grade is at the bottom, it will directly be -600 x 5 equals -30 million points. He had never wanted to be involved in the weird class confrontation between sophomores and first years, and now, suddenly I felt unstable. Because now he is not the student council president, let alone a member of the student council. He does not have such great authority, and all he can do is tie the third graders into the same boat. So if he is tricked by the second year Oreki Houtarou, then he can be tricked by the first year students, and the third year students can fill in the pitfalls of the five groups who dropped out. He could no longer make so many students of the same grade drop out of school, so he could only pay the money. And handing over money, I don't have any money in hand, so the three stores on hand, don't they become very dangerous assets? Moreover, the exam rules this time are so free that you can continue to form a team after the exam starts, so Kiriyama's side also needs to pay special attention to not backstabbing, and Kiriyama's biggest desire is 20 million points. So no matter how you look at it, this exam will cause a lot of bleeding, right? Chapter 236 Shiina-san, how can you not wear it? Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 525. When Mr. Majima, the head teacher of Class A, informed the exam rules, the same rules were also announced to the whole school. Let's not talk about the first grade, here is the second grade. Class D, second grade. There are only 38 students left in the class, and last month, everyone discovered that they had become sophomores, but the situation has not improved. Because the monthly special examinations are still there, and most students are still facing various threats of dropping out. At the same time, because of J. Yuanji's escape, most of the students seem to be in an emotional state. However, it was already the 12th, and the dissatisfaction had subsided. Some students even wanted Hirata to find J. Yuanji. Since J. Yuanji no longer belongs to Class D, can the class evaluation points belonging to J. Yuanji be returned to everyone? And even if you don't get all of it back, you can get half of it back. And now, at the podium. As the list of 7 possible team formations shows, a group can be formed even if it only consists of one person. Although the benefits will be reduced, there will be no special problems. The next special exam will be conducted regardless of the size of the group. This is a mechanism that allows both men and women to challenge individually. The homeroom teacher, Sae Chibashira, was explaining the rules using a display screen that served as a blackboard. Suzun stared at the screen, holding the pen with her fingers, simplifying the test rules and summarizing the key points in the notebook. This was a message specially sent by Kushida-san after he found out that Mr. Chibashiro was going to hold a special exam today. The reason is that there are few students in the class who can use their brains, so the rules may not be clear. So this is entrusting Horikita to help, and it can also increase Horikita's popularity. It's a win-win situation. However, no matter how honest Horikita-san is, he still understands that Kushida-san is feeling a crisis. Kushida talked about the dark history before. Oreki-san's statement was that Kushida's file had been read by others and was even circulated among first-year students. So as long as there are rumors spread or against Kushida, then you need to ask for help from the Archangel Ichinos. Now, this time the special test is a full grade competition, so the first grade will also be included. So Kushida-san feels the crisis now and starts to rely on her to please her. So Suzun acted as the think tank of Class D and began to summarize the exam rules. This is the weakness of this class. Today is May 13th. For 3 days from today to May 16th, students have the authority to apply for team formation from students of the same grade. On the morning of May 21st, all the students in the school will adopt the method of going to the uninhabited island last year, first taking a bus and then taking a luxury ship to the familiar island. The entire examination period lasts for 20 days. One among them, there will be 2 weeks of wild survival on an uninhabited island. 2. The required abilities are various. Those with high comprehensive abilities are more advantageous, but unity cannot be ignored. 3. The first group will be given special rewards such as class evaluation points, personal points, and protection from withdrawal, but the class evaluation points will be divided evenly according to the number of classes in the group. 4. The exam is conducted in groups of at least 1 to 6 people at most. The more people there are, the more advantageous it is. The group ranking depends on the student who leaves the group at the end. Groups in the later stages of 5 will be punished and may even be expelled from school. 6. According to the rules, groups, up to 3 people, can be formed freely within the grade. 7. It is not easy to form large groups in the exam. That's roughly the case, but these rules alone don't tell the whole story. But tomorrow, there will be special roundabout rewards that some teachers have won. In other words, the exam this time was still led by the examiner, Principal Yu Chang, who liked the punishment of expulsion. Horikita began to edit the summarized information and prepared to share it in the class group. However, although most students are still unable to understand the exam rules, Chibashiro-sensei is currently working on a plan that allows one person to perform solo. Individual. Comprehensive personal abilities. And he is still very strong, and maybe he can shine in this exam. When these words were put together, a name appeared in almost everyone's mind. Rokusuke of Kojinji Temple. It would be great if Yuanji was here at this time. Someone mentioned the name directly. And this is Kushida Kikyo. Kojinji-san disappeared from Class D on the 1st of this month. It was time for class, and everyone thought he was absent from class. However, he was informed by Chibashiro-sensei that Kojinji was promoted to Class A. The solution adopted is also very straightforward. He collected 20 million private points and became the first person to succeed across classes. So why is this so? It was clear that the Horikita-san in the previous rumor incident was an acquaintance of the former student council president Horikita, but Horikita-san did not leave the class. As a result, Yuanji left directly. Generally speaking, if a classmate is promoted, then he should be congratulated. Because only by staying in Class D can I understand that Class D has always been pretty bad. Moreover, when I asked Hirata to ask for the class evaluation scores from Kojinji yesterday, Kojinji said, "Those are the points I earned, why should I give them to you? Do you understand that is a transaction?" In this way, Hirata was sent back. Therefore, Juyuan Temple is more likely to cause negative emotions than positive ones for the current Class D. Obviously. Kushida-san's reminder is just adding fuel to the flames. But Kushida-san is also a candidate to pull Kojinji out of his Kushida empire. It should be said that when I entered school, there was an old woman who didn't have a seat on the bus, and Kushida didn't have a seat. However, I saw that Kojinji occupied the special love seat, so I hoped that Kojinji could help. At that time, Gao Yuanji not only refused to help, but also mocked her. Very difficult. Later, when I became a classmate, I didn't listen to anyone at all. So I got on Kushida's blacklist. You really don't have a long memory, Kushida-chan. As for Oreki-san, he was receiving information from students in Class D as usual. But actually, there's no need to be nervous at this time, a boy with red haircut made a voice at the back table. This is Takeru Syodo. Indeed. Juyuanji's physical fitness is very strong, and the uninhabited island will last for another 2 weeks. Although other aspects of ability need to be considered, the most important thing is still physical fitness. Besides Juyuan Temple, there is actually one sports geek left in Class D. Yes, we also have Syodo in our class. If Syodo also goes all out, there is still a chance to compete for third place. The 100-point class evaluation score and 250,000 personal points can also make a contribution to the class. Hirata seemed a little relieved. For another member of the class -1, Hirata did not explode. People go to higher places, and Gao Yuanji-san is going in a good direction, so he has nothing to say. But I don't want there to be too much resentment and agitation in the class because of Gao Yuanji's departure. So I am very happy that Syodo-san can step up and take the lead this time. Syodo has indeed grown up. But if I get rewards and personal points, they will definitely be mine. As for the class evaluation scores, according to the previous plan of Horikita and Kojinji, I will keep half of them, Syodo said. Why? The students looked over quickly. Of course, because I earned the points myself. Syodo's expression remained unchanged. But you can't get third place by yourself, so you definitely need the cooperation of others, Syodo's friend Ike Kanji said. Chi Kwanji's physical fitness is not good, but he has experience in camping and wilderness survival, and he has to take the exam on an uninhabited island for 2 weeks, so it must be related to wilderness survival, so he feels that he can come in handy. And his plan is also very simple. Syodo is recognized as a genius in physical sports, so if he can team up with Syodo, let alone whether he can get in the top 3, he will definitely not be punished and drop out of school. Count 5. And if you can form a team with Syodo, you can also share the reward points. So he was interested too. But there are many people who have the same idea as him. That's right, I want to team up with Syodo. I also want to join Syodo and Hirata. Syodo and Hirata and myself, this 3-person team is absolutely safe. In this way, it's still the same for Class D in the first grade. There is no way to make a decision on the day when the exam rules appear. What about other classes? First grade Class C is here. When school was over in the afternoon, Oreki-san found Ishizaki Daichi from Class C staying in the corridor outside the classroom door. But Oreki ignored him and walked directly past him. And Ishizaki followed immediately. In other words, it was Ishizaki who had trouble with him. Please, Oreki-san. Ishizaki Daichi clasped his hands and said, please help. Help. Oreki returned to the dormitory first, sent the domestic cat to Sakayanagi, and then returned to his room. But no tea was prepared for them. Yes. Them. Because besides Ishizaki Daichi, there was also the very tall Albert who was following Oreki-san all the way. And a cute girl with silver white hair. This is Shiina Hiri from Class C of the 2nd year. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 526. He was also the one who discovered in Oreki-san's precognitive dream that the future was different from her current expectations. As for Shiina-san's position, Oreki is still very clear. The other party is his own tool to complete the system's search for first-year points. She has wisdom. Then he pulled Ryuan into the water, and Ryuan immediately pulled the entire class into the water. After all, it is necessary to embezzle the points of the entire first grade, which is not feasible as an individual. So it takes one class only. Oreki has Ryuan's contact information. If Ryuan has any ideas, Ryuan will send a message first. There is currently no information about Long Yuan. That is to say. So is this Ryuan's idea, or is it your own initiative? Oreki asked while sitting on a chair. Because he didn't expect any boys to come to his room, Oreki didn't prepare slippers for Ishizaki and Albert, so they wore socks. Among them, Albert's feet were a bit smelly, and Oreki-san was actually already planning to shorten the time and prepare to drive him away. It's Ryuan, Ishizaki said immediately. Then I want to ask Ryuan. Oreki-san deliberately put his cell phone on the table just now, and then pretended to take it. Actually we made our own decision, Ishizaki said quickly. Obviously, even after becoming Ryuan's Mazai, Ishizaki is still quite afraid of Ryuan. So, what exactly do you want to do? Oreki-san said. Actually, we're here to invite you to form a team with us, Ishizaki said. Don't we need to form a team for this exam? And Oreki, you are very good at solo action, right? So I hope you can form a team with us. Me, Albert, and Ryuan are all the strongest fighters in the class. You can choose any one or two of us to form a team, Ishizaki Daiichi said. Ryuan's class is a class where bad guys gather, and the fighting and physical strength are very good. As for the 2-week special examination, the most important thing to consider is physical strength. So it seems to make sense to think about it that way. But. So Oreki-san looked at Hiri Shiina. Normally Oreki would go to the library and see Shiina-san, so she accidentally appeared in another place, which felt a bit fresh. And she was very fresh today. Wearing Oreki, Kushida prepared women's slippers because he thought there might be Kurosawa or Sato-san when he came to his room. And she was wearing slippers with bunny ears, which looked fresh with her snow-white skin and exposed calves. But. What a pity. She didn't wear stockings or gray stockings today. They are ordinary black girl's socks. But he is a normal boy after all, so Oreki-san quickly averted his impolite gaze. Instead, he asked about serious matters. Have you explained to them the complete rules for this exam? Regarding the exam rules, the class teacher, Mr. Mashima, has reservations. The specific scoring and mode will be informed when you arrive at the uninhabited island before the exam starts. In order to resist Ueshin's wanton use of the authority of the examiner, the teachers immediately joined forces to fight against Ueshin after being informed of the exam rules yesterday. And their efforts are paying off. A rescue measure will be taken tomorrow. That is, remedies that can minimize the penalty for dropping out of school. Therefore, the correct and safe approach is to wait for notification of teachers' efforts and then carefully consider the grouping situation. No, Hiri-san smiled cutely. Because it's too troublesome to fully explain the past, so it's better to let him be reckless. Because, this is also a solution, isn't it? Hiri-san said. Because no matter what the rules are, as long as you partner with Zemu-san, you will always have peace of mind, right? In other words, are you sure he will win? P.S. Hiri in the previous photo is not wearing gray silk. Chapter 237. Ichi knows, although I am very angry, there is nothing I can do. I'm sure Oreki-san will win, and even if he doesn't win, he can still get into the top 3. So as long as you team up with him, you won't lose. Shiina and the others really have confidence in Oreki-san. In fact, this was not the first time Oreki Houtarou encountered this kind of scene. He had encountered Ishizaki Daiichi before and invited him to join Class C. Then most of Class C's class evaluation scores will become his private property. This is a good time to make money. As a monster of Oreki withdrawing money, you really can't miss it. But unfortunately, Oreki-san is no longer short of money. Otherwise, he wouldn't have divided all the newly acquired 30 million points among first-year students, leaving him with nothing left. This is a wonderful feeling. When there are no points, I feel that points are very important. But after the number of points reaches a certain value, I feel that it is just a number. Can't be shaken anymore. For this exam, Kojinji and I are going to do it alone, Oreki said. Although we may form a team, we won't form a team with outsiders. That's right, Hiri nodded. Aren't you surprised to be rejected directly, Oreki-san said. He still knows that Shiina-san's brain is very smart, and in terms of thinking ability, he is better than Katsuragi-san. Sometimes, Ryuan may not be able to beat her in terms of evasion. And this is probably the reason why she was assigned to Class C with an A in academic ability and a C and in physical fitness. Hiri's thinking is direct and straightforward, and there is no absolute distinction between good and evil. From the last semester's class vote to drop out, one person must drop out. This can be seen from the fact that she directly designated an opponent of Long Yuan to drop out. Hiri-san is the type who won't hesitate if she achieves her goal. Hiri-san didn't know that she was refreshing her evaluation in Oreki-san's mind, she said. And the punishment for this exam is too severe. Maybe 20-30 students will drop out, and the first-year students have just entered school and don't have many points on hand. But the cost of exempting them from dropping out requires 6 million for one group, and 5 groups is 30 million. So I think teachers will definitely strive for a plan so that students can have a certain number of points as a basis before taking the exam. In other words, Hiri is also sure that the remedial measures that the teachers will strive for tomorrow will allow the students to accumulate points. And one thing that needs attention is that this artificial island exam will last for 20 days. It takes 2 days to get to the artificial island by ship, but the time limit for the island exam is a maximum of 14 days, so where is the free time? So it's very possible that like we did last year, after the island exams are over, there will be exams paid for by the school on the ship. Saying this, Hiri-san added, so maybe my mission will be completed this time. Then there is no need to form a team now or not. There is nothing wrong with this way of thinking. And this time, we are in a survival team on an uninhabited island. The top 3 class evaluation scores and private points are awarded. Looks like a lot. But for Class C, which has already given up on A, the class evaluation scores are of little use. And this is still divided according to the participating classes. So it's even more useless. So we have got the battle plan for second grade Class C this time. Not only can I not fall into the last 5 groups and have to pay, but I also have to work hard to make money during this period. Make money, make money. But Shiina-san, do you know what your current state is called? It's called falling into the eyes of money. Considering that Albert and Ishizaki Daiichi were also present, although Oreki-san was a little concerned about predicting the future development of Shiina-san in the dream, he was also considering whether to tactfully persuade him to give up his job as a librarian in a timely manner. But in the end they were allowed to leave first. But one thing that needs to be noted is that when he sent the cat to Kosake Inaga's room just now, Kosake Inaga was not there. So what is she doing now? What is Sake Inaga-san doing? She was just having tea with a pretty girl. The other person has beautiful long golden pink hair, and his pupils are quite clear. Then, very big. Regarding this, Sakayanagi-san is actually a little envious. Ah, sorry, I'm late. The person who greeted Sakayanagi was the archangel in the grade, Hanami Ichinose. Sakayanagi Yuzu arranged for the students to invite Ichinose to come over and explain the arrangements for this special examination. No, I've just arrived. Little Princess Sakayanagi looked quite cute. Sakayanagi and Ichinose have a good relationship. The two became friends not long after school started. Then, in the student union, we were still colleagues. Although they are in different classes, as the student council president, Sakayanagi still trusts Hanami. And Nagamoya also had bad behavior. She failed in her pursuit of Hanami, and then she kidnapped Hanami to pursue Houtarou Oreki due to excessive morals. But these are all fine. Because Fanbo didn't succeed, right? Oreki-san resisted the temptation well. Therefore, Hanami-chan is still Arisu's friend now. Sakayanagi doesn't have many friends. Although Kamuro-san is always by his side, Kamuro is not a friend. If possible, Sakayanagi hopes to continue to maintain a relationship with Hanami even after graduation. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 527. But now, Sakayanagi occupies the position of being the class representative of Class A. Fanbo is the representative of Class B. So. Then I'll get straight to the point. Sakayanagi said, I hope that your Class B will join forces with our Class A for this special preparation exam. Only two of our classes form a team. In other words, before and after the exam starts, will Class A and Class B join forces in advance? This kind of thing. Hanami said quickly, if it is a class matter, I think Kanzaki-san in my class will also have ideas. I am discussing this with you because I trust Hanami-chan, but Sakayanagi directly arranged for Kamuro-san to specially invite Ichinose over, which naturally did not allow Class B to have more time to think. So it's not allowed to add others in randomly. If Kanzaki-san was here, then I wouldn't give this generous offer. Good conditions. Ichinose's cute brows arched slightly. In terms of the basic accessories of Class A and Class B this time, Class A is slightly better. When it comes to waiting for outstanding students, Class A is even more aggressive. It would be better to say that students in Class B are not suitable for charging into battle, but are suitable for following along and providing support. Therefore, if we can team up with Class A for this special examination, we will indeed have an advantage. And Ichinose, you also know that Class C and Class D pose a considerable threat to your Class B. For example, in this uninhabited island exam, no matter whether the students are willing or not, 5 groups will drop out. If you don't want to drop out, you have to prepare 30 million points. Don't think about the 5 groups, even if one group falls at the end, it will be a fatal blow to you students in Class B. Sakayanagi-chan continued. And this blow is not just a loss of points, but also the student's self-isolation. It's like Shibata-san in the sports festival, Sakayanagi said. He still regrets that he fell on the track to this day. And what I'm talking about here is that amazing sports festival in the past. In the 1200 relay, Shibata-san finally fell on the track because he was stunned by being overtaken. In the end, he didn't get a single point. Then I was autistic in my heart for a long time. And here. If a classmate falls into the last 5 groups, as a student in the class, he will definitely not be willing to let his classmate leave, so everyone will pool their money. But for those students, it will be very sad and they feel that they are dragging down the class. And these are all the advantages and disadvantages of Class B. The advantage is that we are extremely united, and everyone is very gentle, but we will also consider that it would be unfair to everyone if we hold back. And Ichinose knew this very well and hoped to avoid it. So. This is because Sakayanagi caught his tail. It seems that you already understand the danger of this special examination. Sakayanagi QD continued. Then let's discuss the terms. Maikamuro-san, Hashimoto, Katsuragi-san and Kito-san, including myself, can form a team with you. And if the worst happens and the students in your class fall into the last 5 groups and have to pay points, our class is willing to pay 3 million points. This is a very favorable condition. Not really. Because students in Class B will only pay if they count down, but if they don't count down, they don't have to pay, right? So this is free prostitution. In addition to free prostitution, it can actually be regarded as a way of self-protection by passing on the danger. Kosake Inaga just pointed out that once the students of Class B fall into the bottom 5, the students of Class B will definitely not want to face it. In fact, the same is true here in Class A. Class A doesn't want to spend money in vain. So the real meaning of Sake Inaga's invitation to Hanamai is that this time he joined forces with Class B to prevent other classes from joining forces. Otherwise, if BCD joins forces, this can be a quick move. Because they failed the exam, the last 5 groups needed money to offset the penalty of dropping out. And looking at the entire school, which class is the richest? Right here. Class A, 2nd grade. Shortly after enrolling, they received a class evaluation score of close to 2,000 points, and now, it is close to 3,000 points. So every student has a certain amount of savings. They can definitely afford the punishment of the bottom 5 groups in this special exam. Therefore, even if BCDs in the same grade do not unite, as long as other grades unite, they will find that, 2nd grade class A is the victim of this special examination. So the real crisis is not Class B but Class A. But Ichino's class is full of angels, in other words, they are stupid. They are relatively easy to bully, and at the same time there is not much difference in hardware strength between them, so they are very safe when combined. So how would Fanbo understand it? Fanbo is certainly not stupid. But whether she can discern this or not, she could only accept it. Because, although Class B was very angry, the bad results were unacceptable to everyone. If our students in Class B fall into the last 5 groups of punishment, it is not enough for you Class A to just pay 3 million. Hanamai tried to add some benefits to his class. It's not good to go too far, Xiaoyuki said. Because if there are students from Class B who deliberately fall behind, our class will be taken advantage of. The classmates in my class would not do such extreme things, Fanbo said immediately. And this is what Kosake Inaga loves deeply. Because Fanbo's class will not do anything scheming, that is the most reassuring thing. Otherwise, the front legs will form a team, and then the back legs will betray directly and pull Class A into the water together. It's scary to think about this kind of thing. So it's great that the students in Class B are angels like Hanamai and the others. So, in the end, Sakayanagi gave in a little. As long as the students in Class B fall into the bottom 5 groups, Class A is willing to pay half of the points to avoid dropping out. Only then did both parties become interested in cooperation. But quickly. Since it's full cooperation between the two teams, Ichino said. Why is Oreki-san not among those who can form a team? For this exam, Oreki-san and Takaharaji-san in my class decided to do it alone, Arisu said. Since it's a solo exam, naturally we can't form a team. As for Oreki-san, Hanamai is familiar with him both as a person and in his love life. But Jyuan Temple. She also heard that Gao Yuanji from Class D had used 20 million points to transfer to Class A and became a student of Class A. And now Gao Yuanji is still a colleague in the student union. Although I don't work much, I can still be considered a member of the student union. As a result, Takaharaji-san has now become the fighting force of Class A. When you think of Kojinji, you think of last year's uninhabited island exam. Because Kojinji's classmates occupied most of the strongholds on the island, all the students in Class B had to carry supplies and walk 23,000 steps. It was a really scary experience. And now that is to say, even if it is cooperation, Class A has decided to get the top 2 spots exclusively. In other words, you must have thought about taking the class evaluation points as a reward in this special examination, and then not giving them to other classes at all. This kind of thing, Fanbo said. This will only make the distance between Class A wider. So Ichino's wants other classes to attack Class B, Kosake Inaga said. If you refuse, then I will join forces with Class C immediately. I think Ryuuen's class really wants someone to be at the bottom, Sakayanagi said. Well. Ichino seemed to be stuck. Ryuen represents black tactics. It means shamelessness. It's really annoying. Then. No, Fanbo said immediately. Then I wish you a happy cooperation in this special examination in advance. Kosakalu then extended his hand. And this is the plan for the second graders to prepare for the exam. And the other side. First graders here. In the morning class meeting, I heard the head teacher's announcement about the rules for this exam, and then after a lunch break, I finally couldn't bear it anymore. The harmless-looking Yagami disciple from Class C of the first grade took the lead. The first special examination meeting for first-year students was held. Chapter 238 You have no choice. First grader. 2 representatives from Class A came, named Takahashi and Yamada. Class B here is Utsunomiya and Haru Sakurako. Yagami Takiya from Class C and a girl named Koizumi. As for Class D, there is only Tsubasa Nanase. In fact, there was another representative from Class D before, and that was Kazuomi Hoizumi. However, Baoquin was expelled from school on the first, and it was said that he used violence and refused to change despite repeated admonitions. For the safety of the students in the school, he was expelled as a punishment. This is a good thing, after all, not everyone is as good at fighting as Baoquin. Moreover, Baoquin not only attacked students in his own class, but also intimidated other classes. So there are many people who don't like him. And him being dropped is a good thing for the freshmen. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 528. But for first year Class D, this special exam is not a good thing. Because Baoquin is a person who advocates violence and has amazing physical strength. If Baoquin is still there, he can compete with the upperclassmen for the top 3 spots. But not now. So, regarding this special exam, my suggestion is that we first-year students unite, Yagami Takiya said. Because we definitely won't be able to handle it if it falls to the end. In fact, first-year students also receive some preferential treatment. For example, senior students can form teams of up to 3 people, while first-year students can form teams of 4, and even when the exam officially starts, they can form a team of up to 8 people. Having more people naturally brings convenience and advantages. Because even if a single soldier cannot defeat others, he can defeat others in large numbers. So this is a human wave tactic. And I can't pay such a huge amount of points as the price to avoid dropping out of school. In the end, the bottom 5 groups all dropped out. If they didn't want to drop out, each group had to pay 6 million points as the price. But as a freshman, no one can pay such a huge amount. If you don't want your classmates to drop out of school, you have to pay the money, but since you don't have the money, you really can't handle it. But there is another channel, which is to borrow money. Utsunomi Yasan, who is already a student in Class B, has something to say about this. Because they just issued a debt note of 30 million points to Oreki Senpai. So, I originally thought I could rely on my own strength and charge forward, but now I am in trouble again. Nanase-san, why are you so uneasy? At this time, Haru Sakurako, who arrived with Utsunomiya, suddenly spoke. This attracted everyone's attention to Nanase Tsubasa. This is a special exam, Nanase said. I may not be able to make the decision. Oh? You must know that this exam is overwhelmingly disadvantageous to us first-year students. I already know it from some seniors. They have taken exams on that uninhabited island before, so it is familiar terrain to them, but it is not only our first time, but also a strange place. Then we can't bear the penalty of falling into the last 5 groups, so what else can we do besides joining forces, said a student from Class A. It's Takahashi. But it looked like an NPC, so most people didn't pay much attention to it. Of course I'll make the decision at this time, a voice came from outside the private room. Then everyone saw a tall man with red hair parted in the middle walking in. There is only one person on the other side, but it gives people a sense of oppression. Because this is the second-year senior, Ryuan Sho from Class C of the second year. It is said that he and Baoquan come from the same place and are the same type of person. First year Class D is already mine, Ryuan said. So the real person in charge is me. What's the meaning? I drove Baoquan away, and then I will naturally inherit his legacy, Long Yuan said. Also, please don't be rude in this special exam. Just sign this contract for me and fulfill it honestly. With that said, Long Yuan took out a stack of printed documents and handed them to everyone at the scene. This kind of contract, but after just a few glances, someone immediately expressed dissatisfaction. And these are the 2 NPCs from Grade A, Class A. Because that's what the contract says. XX, on behalf of Class X, first grade, are willing to give 70% of all the rewards obtained in this 20-day special examination to Long Yuan's Yang, whether class evaluation scores or personal point rewards. Ryuan is responsible for ensuring that the dropouts from the Kojima exam this time will not appear in the ABC class. This is simply a domineering contract. And directly grabbing 70% of the rewards is not just personal points, but even class evaluation scores. Is there anything so cheap? It's simply too much. Don't you agree? So what if my second grade Class C and first grade BCD interfere with your first grade Class A? Long Yuan laughed. And can you accept this consequence? The last 5 groups fell into your class. Not only were their points deducted, but a large number of students were also expelled. Then you, Grade A, will become the laughing stock of this school. Not only were they directly caught up by Class C, with a gap of only 50 points, but the most dropouts even dropped out of Class A in the second month of school. Tisk, tisk, Long Yuan revealed his blatant ridicule. This is a provocation without any acting skills. This provocation method is actually more effective for the first grade Class C, because they have become the first class since the school was founded to be overtaken by the lower class in the first month. Didn't you see that Yagami Takiya's gentle expression had changed a little? But this kind of thing, Utsunomiya, the current junior student of Class B, took the initiative to speak. He is a junior student with a lot of personality. He is also not afraid of violence in fights, etc. But he knew that if he didn't speak now, his class would probably be provoked by Ryuan next. After all, judging from the situation, their class is prosperous and they are a threat to Class A, while for Class C, they are a thorn in their side. So it's a delicate position. And when this kind of exam requires uniting to face the senior class and sacrifice their first-year students, any more internal fighting will be the end. And your own class will also be the target of attack. Rather, it was with this in mind that he participated in this symposium with representatives from the 4 first-grade classes. Ryuan senpai, you are going too far, Utsunomiya said. You are in Class C in the second grade and you don't have the upper hand, so you come here to provoke us first-year students. If we report this kind of thing to the school, it will be difficult for you to behave. Haha, Long Yuan smiled. You can try. And don't forget, I was the one who kicked out the last Kazuomi Hokuan, and do you want to be kicked out now? You guy, Utsunomiya frowned. He understood who the senior Long Yuan was, and he was indeed as annoying as Baoquan. Anyway, hurry up and sign. The result of the signature is that you, the first-year students, can pass the exam safely, Ryuan said, and the punishment for the bottom 3 groups will be taken by the first-year Class D. Will Class D of the first grade take over? Yes. The agreement brought by Long Yuan only said that the dropouts from the bottom 5 groups would not be in the 3 classes ABC, but it did not say that they were not in Class D of the first grade. At the same time, the evaluation scores for the 4 first-grade classes are as follows. 800 points for first-grade Class A. First-grade Class B 750 points. Grade 1 Class C 560 points. Grade 1 Class D 0 points. Among them, the members of the bottom 5 groups in this exam dropped out of school or paid a fine of 6 million yuan. At the same time, the bottom 3 groups also need to pay the team members and class evaluation scores of the top 3 groups. So it's a bad situation. But there is also a note in the exam rules. That is, if the class evaluation scores of the last 3 groups are not enough, the school will foot the bill. So, the class evaluation score of Class D in the first grade is 0. Any shortfall will be made up by the school. It looks like a breakthrough. So don't think I want to take away so many points, the reason is here, to offset the punishment of the expelled members of Class D of the first grade, Ryuan said. And you definitely don't have enough points now. And the information that can be revealed is that the degree of punishment in this special examination is different from the past, and it is even more terrifying. So I think the school will definitely take some relief measures. Otherwise, all the students will drop out after a few exams, and then the school will have no point in continuing. And your head teacher must have informed you about this, Long Yuan said. And what this means is that the respective class teachers said that there will be another notice of supplementary rules tomorrow. In other words, students cannot afford such a high price for this special examination, so will the school make some improvements as appropriate? But this is just your own conjecture, Ryuan Senpai Yagami Takia said. It is indeed my guess, and I dare to bet, so do you dare to bet, Long Yuan said. And this is the safest plan for you first-year students to face the assessment. At most, think of this special exam as a skip. No one dropped out. Isn't it beautiful, Long Yuan said. These words made everyone remain silent. They were all freshmen who had just entered school. They were suddenly informed of the essence of this school, and then directly participated in the school's exclusive monthly special examination in advance. Although in the last exam, the first-year student was punished lightly in the written test with his second-year partner. Looks like a prophet. However, this time the exam is very cruel for first graders. The environment is unfamiliar, the rules are unfamiliar, and then they face the fate of being exploited and harvested. But couldn't refuse. Because no one wants to drop out of school and have their class evaluation points deducted from their class. Think so. Our first-year Class B can participate. Utsunomiya said nothing, but the classmate he brought with him, Haru Sakurako, took the initiative to speak. We will sign this agreement, but there are conditions. That is, if we can get more than 15 million in this exam, then we need to divide 15 million. Oh, Hu Long Yuan looked over. You are so brave. If you open your mouth, it's more than 15 million. Not only Ryuan, but everyone else also looked at Haru Sakurako and Utsunomiya. As first-year students, Utsunomiya and Haru Sakurako are quite popular. Not only was he successful at lower level and upper level, but he was also not far behind Class A. Utsunomiya glanced at his classmates who remained quiet, and Haru Sakurako continued. Our Class B received assistance from the seniors from second-year Class A for our last special exam. He did get help. But I also owe 30 million IOU to Oreki Houtarou Senpai. So Ryuan Senpai, you are now betting on the patch obtained by the teachers. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 529. And we can only gamble that we can get a big reward in this exam and pay off the debt, Haru Yingza said. In other words, even if the current first-year Class B has been promoted, it has paid a terrible price. But Ryuan kept smiling. In fact, special attention has been given to these two junior students in Class B of the first grade. He himself was born in Class C and is very aware of the quality of the students in Class C. Therefore, these two directly subordinate juniors and junior girls can climb up, which looks very beautiful, but it is not a good thing. In other words, it is easy to lose control after climbing up. Not to mention the debt of 30 million. A lot of pressure. But when Haru Sakurako said this, she was probably just showing weakness on purpose. Because first year Class B probably saw through this special exam. It lasts for 20 days, and then it only takes 14 days to survive on an uninhabited island. So what do you do with the remaining 6 days? So they should have expected that in addition to the uninhabited island exam, there would be other special exams. And that's what Ryuan, Shiina, and Oreki-san want. The first-year students get points from the school openly, and then they exploit the new students. So, the agreement he came up with was of course used to deceive and exploit the first-year students. It turns out that this schoolgirl has already thought about it. It seems that it was not their luck that they took the initiative to directly approach Oreki Houtarou and second-year Class A to trade last month. But they are really keen. I'm a little curious whether this group of people can really climb up from Class C. Then you have to have so many points, Long Yuan said. But you love spending money so much, so I'll give you a little convenience. I agree to your request, Long Yuan said. Then our class the two junior students in Class A wanted to speak. Others can't, Long Yuan said. Since ancient times, only the first one can eat crabs, and the second one is meaningless. Cut. The junior students looked very dissatisfied. But there is no better solution for the current situation. After all, I don't want to be deducted points or dropped out of school. P.S. There will be another update in the afternoon. Chapter 239. Nane-senpai, you are not a good student. Ryuan-senpai doesn't give him a way to survive. And faced with this situation, then we are the first-year students of Class C. Takia Yagamai, who looked harmless, said. Can we wait until the head teacher announces the patch rules tomorrow before making a decision? He is a student of the original Class B. Although the class has been downgraded now, he seems to be the same considerate little angel as Ichino's class, in the same class as Ryuan. Has no offensive power. But no, Long Yuan said. Because this is a big gamble, I'm willing to risk it all. So, either give up and become the target of everyone's attack, or just sign it for me. In other words, all the first-year students are tied up. Several people looked at each other. Then the contract was signed. Then congratulations on keeping your classmates, Ryuan stood up and said. 3 months ago, our second graders had a class-wide exit test. There must be students who drop out, and if they don't drop out, they have to pay 20 million points. So now it's just equivalent to skipping this exam, and you're getting a good deal. In other words, this school is more cruel than imagined. The first graders fell silent. After Ryuan achieved his goal, of course he had no interest in staying with the first grader. He walked right out. It's so boring, the two NPC class representatives from Class A said. Then he also left here. Because the exam this time only requires signatures, although you can save your classmates, it also means that you have not gained anything. As only first-year students, we are subject to too many checks and balances from senior students, Takia Yagamai said to the girls in his class. but the bottom line that no classmates will be expelled can be regarded as being maintained. In other words, even though he was forced to sign the contract, he did it for his classmates. So he found it acceptable. This is in line with the quality of students in Class B. So he and his classmates also left here. Then only Haru Sakurako, Utsunomiya, and Nanae Tsubasa were left on the scene. But even though the place was almost cleared, the three of them did not leave. Instead, he sat in the private room just now. It costs points to book a private room. It's just that it's not about saving money or anything, it's about waiting for someone. About 10 minutes had passed, and a girl with purple hair in a single ponytail seemed to be late. Era, I thought it was just Chun-san who came to find me, and I thought we were going to play together or something. But it doesn't look like that now. The other party said so. She is a student in the same grade and a girl in class A of the first grade. The name is Ichika Amasawa. However, he was a loner. Although his OAA score was very high, he did not make any outstanding contributions in Class A. He was like a lone wolf. And now this lone wolf has been invited. I invited you here, Utsunomiya said. You also participated in the plan proposed by Principal Tsukijo last month to drop out of Ayanokaji. And now, the whole grade is uninhabited and it will last for a long time, so it's the right time for us to take action. Oh, Amasawa Ichika's hairstyle was changed to a single ponytail today. So you want to get the 20 million points rewarded by Principal Yu Chang. It's not just that, Nanae said. If we form a team, then it's not impossible to compete with the seniors for the top 3. And once you get into the top 3, you will not only be rewarded with class evaluation points, but also with private points, which is beneficial to us poor people. There are students from Class A, Class B and Class D in the first grade present now. If 4 people form a team, except Class D who was sacrificed by Ryuan Senpai, both Class A and Class B can get points, which seems like a good deal. At the same time, because the students in Class A are also involved, once they secretly increase their scores and want to counterattack the seniors, the students in Class A will not stop them. After all, the students in their own class are also there, so once the counterattack is successful, the class can also share the fruits of victory. Not a loss. But then why do you want to participate, Nanae Senpai? Amasawa Ichika said, you were acting with Hosen before, and now you are acting with Ryuan Senpai. So, should you tell Ryuan Senpai about the contents of this reward? I didn't say that I was acting together with Ryuan Senpai now. How did you know? But Nanae Senpai looked like she was facing a formidable enemy. Because few people know that the person in charge of first grade Class D changed hands due to Baoquin's departure. He is the representative of each class, and he also just found out that the person behind the scenes of first year Class D is now replaced by the senior of second year Class C, Long Yuan Xiang. And the 2 NPCs who just signed in Class A probably haven't had time to inform the students in the same class yet. So, where did Amasawa Ichika get the information from? It's just simple reasoning, Tianzi said. Because Class C is very powerful, isn't it? Didn't Haru Sakurako-san and Utsunomiya-san successfully counterattack? My class A is in danger right now, so the second graders need to worry the most about Class C. Stop joking, but at this time, it was the seemingly rational Utsunomiya-san who denied Amasawa-san. That's just because you didn't start taking it seriously. If you become the representative of Class A, then the results of Class A will not be what they are now, Utsunomiya said. That seems to be the case. Amasawa Ichika did not deny it, but I am not very interested in class confrontation. But after all, I was invited here by you, so I reluctantly agreed. Then start dividing the rewards. Tianzi said, Principal Yu Cheng offered 20 million, how much are you willing to give to me? I'm very expensive. I want 10 million points. 10 million. Utsunomiya seemed to be hesitating. Then the team we formed must get the third place ranking, Haru Yingza said. If it can be done, then we can accept it. Era, what an incredible condition, Tianziyi said. But it doesn't seem absolutely impossible, so I'll try my best to see. In other words, I agreed to such a condition. And this Nanace-san. But Emasawa seemed to be sizing up Tsubasa Nanace, and then suddenly raised his left hand and hit Nanace Tsubasa in the face. Lie. Very fast sound. Utsunomiya and Haru Sakurako looked over. At first, I thought Emasawa was suddenly going to slap Nanace Tsubasa, but the slap was in vain. Because Nanace-san avoided it flexibly. Tisk tisk, Amazawa Ichika said. It seems Nanace-san you are not a good boy. Looks like he has good physical fitness and reaction speed. I have my own reasons for dropping out of school, Ayanokaji-senpai, Nanace Tsubasa said. So I trained myself hard. Have you ever worked hard to train yourself? Utsunomiya had only heard this line in Tikari, and it was a villain's statement. Have a strong obsession. Then the agreement is reached, Emasawa Ichika said. I will cooperate with you. But I will not ask for another 10 million points. 500 is enough. Anyway, according to my academic ability, I will have a good future even if I don't graduate as Class A. In other words, even if her class is surpassed, she is not afraid. Literally, like a lone wolf. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 530. As a result, Tian's classmate left as quickly as he came. And Nanace Tsubasa finally left at this time. There were only 2 people from the same class left in the private room. So what should we consider? Utsunomiya said. His brain is actually not as useful as the classmates around him. At the beginning, Haru Sakurako was not among the first-year students invited by Tsuki City. It was Utsunomiya who invited her. This agreement makes no sense, Haru Yingza said. First of all, this is just an empty agreement, without a signature or a pledge, so probably only honest people like Nanace-san will abide by it. As for Ichika Emasawa, as long as she works hard to improve her scores in this special exam, it will be fine. The attitude she showed is not clear. We can't be sure whether we really dropped out of Ayanokaji-senpai, whether she will really help, or whether she will betray. In other words, this time the so-called staying and inviting Ichika Emasawa over was actually to test the other party. At the same time, fooling Nanace's classmate honesty, he takes action in this time's test of survival on an uninhabited island. If Emasawa Ichika betrays, then he can be confirmed as an enemy. It can be used if Nanace-san is someone who is on their side. So you have to give it time. However, this school is indeed difficult, Utsunomiya said with a sigh. I was assigned to Class C. In other words, we actually know that students in the 4 classes A, B, C, D are assigned according to a set of standards. But he got bad reviews. I'm afraid I won't admit defeat, Utsunomiya said. But there are also successful cases like Senior Gao Yuanji from Class D of the 2nd grade who accumulated enough 20 million points to be promoted to Class A, right, Haru Yingza said. This is true. And they have another advantage over Senior Kojinji. That's having a class behind you. Moreover, I have led the class to climb up and now the results have come out. The classmates in Class C will become loyal executors of any plans or tasks they carry out during this half year. And the other side. Oreki-san waited until Sake Anaga-san finished the conversation. Hi Feng, go get the toy back. Oreki-san also found that his cat started to turn into a puppy. In addition to liking the claw cat scratching post, he also likes others to play puppy games with him. Kamuro-san was still making tea in the kitchen. She seemed to make a rather surprised sound. Houtarou and Sake Anaga-san picked up the phone. Oreki picked up his cell phone that was on the table. The mailbox on the mobile phone received a unified message sent by the school. It's a card. It is recorded there that congratulations, you have drawn the item card trial. Note, only available for exams on uninhabited islands. Have you received the message on your mobile phones too? Oreki-san asked. I got a card item called leading. Kosake Anaga said. It's not just that Oreki-san picked up the tablet that the school issued to both first and second graders. The information on the cards we obtained has also been updated to the OAA system. What is displayed above is Kamuro-san's information. Academic ability, B+. Intelligence, C. Class contribution, C. Athleticism, A. The final rating is 77 points. Props, additional personnel. It seems that the homeroom teachers of the 3 grades are very capable this time. Kosake Anaga came to Oreki-san. Although she also has a tablet, why should she use her own? Isn't it nice to be able to read information while sitting on Oreki-san's lap? So the two of them read through the prop cards that most of the students got and said. The next day. Class meeting. Mr. Majima stood on the other side of the podium, and the electronic screen had already shown an update. Today is an addition to the rules we said yesterday. This time the scope of the exam is large, and the punishment is also large. And the results achieved by the joint efforts of the head teachers of our various classes. You can understand it as an addition or similar to a patch. Then please look at this. The electronic screen of the blackboard switches to display 8 items. Basic card list. 1 lead, when the exam starts, the number of basic points that can be used becomes 1.5 times. 2 addition, the personal point reward received by the holder is doubled. 3 halves the personal points paid during punishment. Will only be reflected on card holding students. 4 take a ride, get an extra half of the personal points you get at the end of the designated group test at the beginning of the test. If the designated group is combined with yourself, the effect is eliminated. 5 insurance, if you are disqualified due to physical discomfort during the exam, the holder will get a recovery buffer of only 1 day. Disqualification due to improper conduct, etc. will be invalid. List of special cards. 6 additions. Students with this card can exist as the 7th student in the group. It takes effect after the exam starts and is not affected by the male-female ratio. 7 invalid, the personal points paid when punishing will become 0. Will only be reflected on card-holding students. 8 trial, obtain the right to multiply the special examination class evaluation score by 1.5 times. However, if you do not enter the top 30% of the group will be penalized. Note, the additional compensation will be paid by the school. All students will randomly get a card from these 8 special cards. And it should be used in the test of survival on an uninhabited island. At the same time, teacher Mashima said, the obtained cards can be transferred or traded between the same grades until the special examination begins. Anyone can browse who owns what cards on OAA. You can sell them to students who want to buy them, or you can buy them and own multiple cards per person. The specific operation method is to send information to the school email. Edit your own ID and the ID of the reseller or acquirer together. But since identical effects don't multiply, there's no point in having 2 identical cards for 1 student. It seems that Ryuan Senpai made the right bet. This was the common sentiment of several class representatives when the first-year students were notified by their respective class teachers in the class meeting that there would be an additional exam patch. Chapter 240. Kushida-san is satisfied. In the classroom of Class A, 2nd grade. The head teacher's voice came. The supplementary rules are probably like this. Including cards that have an advantage at the beginning of the test, cards that specifically protect oneself, cards that fall into the bottom 5 groups and require a fine but can be reduced or even waived, and even cards that guess the same bet made by the group. If it can be used wisely, it will have good results. But even though everyone has random cards, the number of special cards is very small. Take trial cards as an example. Only 3 cards will be released per grade. Mashima-sensei was still talking, but Oreki-san had already simplified the patch rules. Summary and rules of the card. Basic cards and special cards can be traded within the same grade, but cannot be traded among classmates. It should be noted that once the owner is changed, it cannot be traded again. Using multiple copies of the same card will not multiply the effect. In other words, can a student have up to 7 types of cards at the same time? And the effects of the cards are not all positive. For example, trial cards are related to class evaluation scores, but only the first 3 groups are rewarded with class evaluation scores. Therefore, if the card holder cannot get into the top 3, then it is useless. But generally speaking, once the rules of these cards are superimposed, the dropout rate will be greatly reduced. It also increases opportunities for opportunism. For example, the bottom 5 groups will be expelled and need to pay a fine. If these 5 unlucky groups have as many halved cards or invalid cards as possible, then they can only pay a small part of the penalty or no penalty at all. And opportunism is a free ride. Groups are assigned before the exam begins. Although I did not participate in this group, as long as this group gets the ranking reward, it can share half of the point reward. Better than winning the lottery. Of course, if the selected group does not receive the reward, you will not be able to receive the reward. But what about betting on infallibles from the get-go? Then it's just a matter of making money. In this way, a certain option appeared in this special examination.